Coming into the split, we were really confident. We were really confident we'd be a top team, and we were playing to improve. We were like thinking that okay, we're gonna not only compete in EU, but we want to compete in the whole world.
They're building a puzzle from three different sets of puzzles. Like they have the pieces in Amazing and SOAS who are used to how things worked in Origin. They have Reckless who has a bad year in Fnatic, and then they have Jessis who has done multiple roles. They need to bring all that knowledge together to then create a top tier team, but that will take time.
But what we do know is that Fnatic has done this before.
Then somewhat in the middle we realized that okay, we have some problems and we're not able to play this insanely perfect game. So we made some changes. We still had some problems. Now we just came to the conclusion that we're not gonna play the perfect game, but we're just gonna play for now to win against EU at least. I know that EU teams make a lot of mistakes and we're just capitalizing on them and getting advantages because of that.
Yeah, and this is just hubris from Kakao. Look, there's a control ward in the river. You cannot afford to do this.
So we're just playing, hoping that our opponent will make a mistake. And I think if we can somewhat mirror what Rocket was doing to punish the top teams right now, then I think it will be, I don't want to say free wins, but it kind of will be. I think we can definitely beat every team in EU, but we're not gonna be perfect.
Fnatic, they are controlling this game. And this is no longer about just split pushing and kid and cheese. No, this is superior macro coming out of Fnatic right now.
H2K gameplay is far from perfect. I believe that there's a chance that we can win. There's only one winner, and that's whoever wins the final, in my eyes at least. Getting the title of winning EU would be insane, really. I don't know if I have any other words to describe it.
Caps and the rest of Fnatic are one step closer to that final, but they've got to get through a semi-final first. They've got to get through H2K now. Welcome back. The quarterfinals for the H2K and Fnatic are truly heating up. Both of these teams fighting for a spot in the semi-finals, fighting for a spot in Hamburg. And if you want to join us there, check out eu.lolesports.com, where you can find yourself some tickets. We opened up that second wave not too long ago. H2K have side selection. They have picked red side. Caps, we just heard from him in that Fnatastic piece, really showing an understanding of his team's style and play. Fnatic have opted into it fully, and that's why they're 2-0 up in the series.
And some big, confident words, talking about how, you know, H2K's game is far from perfect. Well, that's exactly what we've seen in this series so far. And as we go into picks and bans for Game 3, H2K, they were the highest seeded team coming in. They've had red side as their side selection once again.
Now, Stress, what do you think about H2K's red side here and the options to give them?
Well, we were talking about this a little bit coming into this, and we think that the Vayne isn't quite such a priority if you last pick support for H2K. You can just ban it, you can ban the cannon. Already some priority on AD carries with Varus going, but there goes the LeBlanc out of H2K. It's not the cannon, that means cannon or Shen is getting through.
Exactly, either cannon or Shen, or maybe both, and you get that trade between the two teams. Elise has been a good pick for Broxah, but as you highlighted, the fact that Reckless got that last pick Vayne made it a really good pick against the Tahm Kench lane.
And what's very important to me, that Elise performance is now mirroring how good Broxah's Lee Sin performances have been in the past, maybe even better. The impact for Broxah is undeniable. And the last ban from H2K is going to be Rise. So Elise is up, Shen is up, Kennen is up. What a Fnatic first pick?
I think Fnatic at this point, like the Shen is the most likely one, and as it comes through, that is the case, because H2K, they can take away the Elise if they feel it's been a problem, but they may just go the Rengar, the Graves that we've seen out of H2K before.
Does Fnatic get Kennen as well? Do they pick that in this rotation, or is that too risky?
I think H2K can take Kennen here and use it as a flex. Either put it top lane against Shen or put it down bot lane. They do value the Ashe. I'm glad to see Elise here. I think this is smart. I understand that, you know, on the meta rankings, the Graves and the Rengar is above it, but when it comes to just denying comfort, Broxah has been on this champion twice, so banning Lee Sin in that sense lost a little bit of its value. Now taking it away is important, but I think like Rengar, Graves will just be the choices for Broxah.
And I wonder now, as we head further through, there's the cannon, it is the AD carry. that we've been talking so much about. First game it's been available on Fnatic, lock it in. Now you look at it, two strong side lanes. H2K quickly round out with a strong blind pickable mid laner of Syndra. H2K, this is a different type of setup, and I actually think this is beneficial when they can fight a little bit harder in the early game, I feel.
I agree. I think it's a stronger early game. A lot of pick potential. Ashe also is like one of the safest AD carries to pick. She has a strong lane. If you pair her up with a range support, can definitely beat the cannon. But yeah, they're removing so many Syndra counters. LeBlanc already gone. Echo is now being banned away. The thing is, Caps is the guy with so many different picks. And I don't think he would allow them not to take Syndra on Fnatic's side if he had nothing left to play.
Deficio, Fnatic have played 36 games coming into this series, and Caps played 16 different champions in that middle lane. The vast majority, 1, 2, or 3. And you can see with Fnatic's picks and bans over the last few weeks, undefeated with Shen, 4-0. They're 4-1 with Kennen. All of the wins in the ADC role belong to Reckless. Now he has to prove that he truly is the one true Kennen.
And it is good for Fnatic that their focus is on these mid lane champions. Actually, no ban here from H2K in the end. I normally want to say it's on purpose, but sometimes the coach after is like, no, actually we were just last second gonna pick something, but no ban from them. So this means all the range supports, Karma, Fiddle, Zyra, they're open.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of supports Lulu, yeah, you need with Kennen for him to have a strong laning phase. And also for Shen to be able to ulti onto a strong bot lane. The Braum shenanigans didn't work because you would lose lane, and then Kennen would be useless. But now Fnatic can get a strong 2v2 lane.
And what a big pick the Rumble would have been for H2K. Typically has been one of Odoamne's best performing champions. Now you can't play it into the Shen. Likely tank versus tank in the top lane.
Possibly. I want to see their top lane pick here. I want to actually save this last pick for support, so you know what the support is from the side of Fnatic. I can only see Zyra as the one because it's such a strong power pick. And that's okay, because it can lane against Karma, it can lane against Lulu. That was the one pick to go for.
What? Okay.
Okay.
So, Aurelion Sol into Syndra. This is something that would make Vedius very happy and excited a few patches ago. He was talking a lot about it. I can see a huge grin on Deficio's face as Caps was the man that would pull out some shocks and surprises, and it's Aurelion Sol.
During Worlds, when Syndra were winning everything, some mid laners, looking at like CLG here, were actually okay taking something like an Aurelion Sol in the mid lane against it. And the thing is, you can't lose lane if you're not in lane.
Yep. and it's not even a bad thing that you're out of lane, because you
it's a really good thing.
You get right back, you can go to another lane, you can roam so much, and you just don't tend to drop behind. And as you're talking about, you can't really lose lane that hard unless you make a mistake.
Gentlemen, can you remind me, what have we said about H2K and surprises? They don't like surprise parties.
No, they hate them. They absolutely hate surprises. Now, Renekton means that H2K, they're angry. Especially Odoamne, he's mad because he wants now blood in that top lane. Elise Renekton is the dive combo against things like Shen as well. I still feel like because H2K decided to show support, it actually allowed this Camille support to come through again for Justice, because he's fine playing against the Zyra. He just needs to survive a few levels. And H2K are not really surprising anyone with the Renekton.
No, and that's a big amount of crowd control down in both bottom lanes when you look at it. So around that level 6 mark, maybe we'll see a lot of trades down there. But you talk about that Renekton, I feel like Soaz should be able to play around the threat of the dive from Renekton at least. Like, it is straightforward. It's difficult to deal with if they get there, but if he's respecting it well, the Aurelion Sol can also cover and make it a 3v2 potentially.
If you're Soaz, before that dive even happens, you wave goodbye and you go to the bottom lane, because the reason this Camille can work after a few levels against Zyra is Zyra has no mobility. And using Camille E as a massive gap closer means you can always get to that Zyra, and then Shen ulti comes in. So it's actually extremely easy for Fnatic with double CC bot lane to set up plays against this Zyra Ashe. And that's again why this Camille can really work for Jessis.
Oh, and I can't wait to see Caps flying down with that gigantic Q, the stock surge. Also bring that to play. Comment of Legend. All of the roaming, all of the surprises, all of the days. That is what has cost H2K in the past, and that's what Fnatic will be leaning on. Is this the last game of the quarterfinals? Will Fnatic stun the world and go 3-0 against the pre-match favorites, H2K. H2K, hard to kill up until today. Fnatic don't care. 2-0 up as we load up for game 3.
And not only is there a lot of offensive threat coming from Fnatic, you see a lot of defensive capability as well. The voice of light, the pushback, the stuns coming from Reckless.
Have to point out as well, couple on your screen. They're in picture-in-picture. They traveled 950 kilometers to come to the studio and watch Fnatic play. I met them before the show, and their exact words, we didn't travel 900 Ks to watch Fnatic lose. They've definitely got their money's worth today, that's for sure.
That could have been a gamble.
Definitely a gamble, but paid
Depends
off.
whether you booked that in like week 3 or 4, right?
So Aurelion Sol, guys, funny enough, was never that big of a pick in Europe. Like, I never really felt like Aurelion Sol were like really the thing to look at. Even when he was very strong, it was a lot of it was like during Worlds. We got to see it in MSI, we got to see it as well. But there were, of course, some EU mid laners using it. But this is the first time this split.
Yeah, we've seen him played a bunch internationally, actually.
It's almost mainly focused on international play.
Yep. Most recently, actually, Maple was able to pick up a win into Syndra in this exact matchup. And this, of course, as you so eloquently put, Deficio, you can't lose lane if you're not in lane.
So some really good things for Aurelion Sol is that you can actually build very tanky and still be very useful. Like we saw things like, you know, Rod of Ages or the GLP cannon, whatever the name is of that one, that cannon thing.
Hextech hose.
Hextech, yeah, the Hextech hose, thank you, I like that name. Early MR is perfectly fine because so much of your damage is based around like these orbs kind of just shooting around for a long time.
You've got to also look at the pedigree of the player playing it, because back in Challenger last split, we had a handful of pentakills, and one of them was Caps playing for Nerve on Aurelion Sol.
I remember that pentakill.
And that was a sweet pentakill. We'll see whether he can do anything like that again in this series.
I'm very glad you brought that up, because I actually casted that pentakill.
I did too.
Yep. It was a long time ago. How practiced is Caps? We just heard some praise from Exile on the analyst desk on how Caps' mechanical proficiency is so high. He's going to get tested. The start surge. I'm not going to find any CC. Cocoon comes down. Scatter the weak. Cleanse comes out. Flash forward. Will Jankos trade his life? Repel buys some time and going to get out of range. Jankos helps with first blood.
Just when you mentioned mechanics, I think Caps shot his Q the wrong way.
That's my fault is what you're saying?
I'm blaming you. Febiven did have cleanse, so probably wouldn't have made that big of a difference. If you could have shot at Jankos though, and forced him to maybe repel early, possibly a 1-for-1 trade, but early gank here, Aurelion Sol, you can stun him up, you can obviously lock him down, because early in the laning phase, he's not going anywhere.
And that's what I wonder is, was Cap slightly off angle here? Was he trying to block like a flash cocoon coming through from Jankos? Like you wouldn't repel down into it, so that's not what that would come from, but you can see a little bit of mispositioning. Jankos had that repel to get himself up at the end of it all. That's clean for H2K, and if they want to come back for a reverse sweep, they need more plays like that.
Well, Jankos steals away the Elise from Broxer, shows up for first blood in game 3, potentially the deciding game of the split for H2K. And I think that's important for Jankos and some confidence, because he's been bullied. He's been pushed around by the young former challenger player Broxer this series. And Jankos was once the king of all jungles when it came to first blood.
Last game, Jankos bullied himself. You know, walked into that Raptor camp when there was 0 mid lane control and just gave up a first blood. Bot lane though, again, Jessis and Reckless, they won a few levels, and then you start looking for those Zyra engages.
Yeah, especially when Soaz gets stand united.
Yeah, and that level 6 point later on, as you said, Fnatic likely to go very aggressive, but for now, Soaz has to try and struggle through this early laning phase against Odoamne. A big wave pushed out with the cannon, that allows him to recall. Will he TP back up, or will he just walk it? Obviously, did get a bit of an experience lead, but that's because Odoamne ended up TPing back after recalling.
It's a pretty big freeze here for Odoamne, forcing Soaz to come back and shove it all the way out, which he's going to do now. Odoamne, obviously, due to the fact that the big wave is not dead yet, is slightly down in levels, but
mid lane.
Go back up. So Jankos mid again.
My favorite spell, not going to connect. Cocoon is going to go wide. A little bit of a stun onto Jankos. He's able to escape. The Celestial Expansion is ticking away. Shot after shot. Jankos goes down. It's Broxer that gets the kill.
And this time, Caps does land his Q. He actually stuns Jankos, make sure he stays alive. The stun also was dodged from Febivin. This is now really good for Fnatic. Good return kill. Source will get his level 6. Bot lane will get the level so they can engage on Nuclear and Che. Flash is down from the Zyra. Wait for that level 6 mark on Soas and you might have a kill.
Look at the minimap as well. After Broxer got the kill onto Jankos, he instantly moved into the jungle, placed a couple wards, and has backed away.
I actually want to see H2K push out this bot lane and then lane swap. Swap into the Shen lane when he gets level 6 here, because you have to push in the bottom lane. You can recall first. Avoid that potential kill on Che when he has no flash.
6 for Odo Amne. He wants to go aggressive, but that means Broxer's falling back. They know they can't eat all the way through the Renekton ult as well. I agree with what you're talking about. Attack that Shen post level 6 is what H2K need to do, but they've got to be careful because already Caps has been pinged. Look at how fast he moves out of the lane, can threaten bot lane. They're going back bot, Devicio.
This is risky. So risky by H2K. Jess is at this point 3 ranks into his stun. The hook shot. Very easy to target. Now, Fnatic does like to lane swap as well. They might have to run mid and then see where H2K is going with their dual lane before they decide where to go. Because if they go top now to try and match a potential lane swap and the lane swap is not there, they actually give H2K the advantage.
I just saw a couple of Fnatic pings as they were finishing their recalls on the bottom lane
and,
then the top lane. So information revealed with Nuclear down bottom and Reckless instantly peels away from mid to make his way down.
Yeah, the dual lane from Fnatic, they know, okay, there's a high chance of a lane swap. Go towards the mid lane, see where they're going, and then react. And that's why they go back down to bottom lane. No flash, Zyra. She's so dead.
I think you're going to get dunked.
Why are you
United
here?
as well. Che. What a terrible day. Reckless gets his first of the game.
They recall for 2 minutes, and the guy walks back to the bottom lane.
You just look at the mobility that this cannon provides. It allows them to get there. Is it a dive?
Look bottom. Nuclear is going to get blown up by Soaz.
It's like they don't even listen. That's the problem.
Nuclear and Che were meant to be a safe bot lane duo that we thought Reckless and Jez's wouldn't be able to bully, and despite warnings coming through, it has seemed like Nuclear and Che haven't been able to survive. Che pushes up too far, gets caught, Nuclear stays under tower, doesn't respect Broxer incoming.
I'm putting my H2K hat on for a second. They didn't lose a 2v2. They lost a 4v2 because there was a bunch of Fnatic support. And this should allow Tower First Blood to be picked up by Fnatic and H2K second thereafter.
Now you say the 4v2, and I agree when they died, there were 4 members, but before that, game 1, they overpush. This game, Che on your screen had no flash. He lost it in the 2v2. He still doesn't have any flash, by the way.
Goodbye, Che, the voice of light and some celestial expansion. H2K are tilting off the face of the rift.
Completely. We talk about just lane swap. Level 6 Shen is going to come down to the no flash Zyra. You obviously lost the trade in the 2v2. You shouldn't have lost. They go back bot lane, and now they died twice each. They've lost the bot lane tower.
Oh,
yeah, that happened. But the bot lane, guys.
Yeah.
That's Caps now. I'm not going to use the name we used in the previous game. But a very good outplay from Febivin. And that's going to stop the Dragon as well. Gift wrapped it for H2K, Stress.
Last sphere hit. Is that an outplay? Does that count?
I think it counts.
Syndra ult. If the last one kills it.
That makes it the skill button.
At that point, I mean, Fnatic, again, they're coming very aggressively into that bottom lane early. And we started the day looking at how H2K hadn't lost towers. Well, making plays like this for H2K is going to result in tower after tower. Again, Nuclear is pushed up in the lane. There's no ward for H2K to spot anybody coming through the jungle, and Reckless just pops in and runs at him.
I love how Fnatic are just punishing mistakes here. This is exactly what Cap said in the interview before this, game 3. It's like, European teams, they're going to make a lot of mistakes. Like, walking back bot lane against Shen without flash, and then walking back to the lane after your tower died. And they just punished. Twice now. That was 4 kills on a bot lane tower based on H2K giving Fnatic that option, and Fnatic just took it, and they ran with it.
Oh, TP coming in here.
Not again.
They're trying to go again.
Look at the minimap. Nuclear's off to the right. No flash, no heal. Nuclear and Che have been left out to dry, and the entire H2K team is just not helping them and guiding them and making...
They're doing it on their own
Some
as
of
well.
it is themselves, the first couple, and now they're just really struggling to play around it. And that interview with Caps was recorded days ago. Like, this isn't a new thing that H2K are just struggling with now, but Fnatic identified it clearly and are just taking H2K to town over it.
And of course, if you step back a little bit, Fnatic made the call in, what was it, week 8 to, you know, part ways with Nico the Pico, and they embraced this style of play. Now Caps is under pressure on this mid lane. The cleanse comes down. Defensive
Brox
flash
is
from
here.
Che.
He's
now
done again.
Broxa, he's going to deliver Soaz on Shen. They look for Feathervin. Voice of Light not going to reach the target just yet. Oda One and Yankos now turn their attention to Soaz. The rest of Fnatic, they're looking at another tower.
Yeah.
They've embraced this play style. They've refined it, and now they're in the lead in the quarterfinals.
Fnatic are just completely outplaying H2K in the early game. Even with the Renekton and Least, you know, that was probably his answer to some of this pressure here. But as we said in Champ Select, Sources said goodbye top lane, I'm gonna go bot lane. He did that twice, got a few kills, got a tower, so they never got to dive him up there in that lane.
H2K looking to set up a play on Caps that maybe works if bot tower is still there and it's the laning phase and nobody is mid. But already Fnatic are here. Brox is easily there. Soaz gets the ult. Nuclear's under his tower, half the map away. No one's there to save you.
And it's a classic BU5 thing where you start losing. You feel like you have to change your bans now. Oh, that's an arrow.
There it is. Cleanse was used earlier. Caps was able to flash away for now. Vinja, slicing Maelstrom's available for Reckless. Does he decide to use it? Nuclear, still no flash available. Summon a heal buys a few seconds of time before Caps keeps stinging and biting Odo away.
You land an arrow with no follow-up, and this is the 3rd or 4th death for Nuclear now since that flash has not been available. H2K committing as if there's no way Fnatic can gather in that amount of time. They have Camille, they have Kennen, and now they've got Odo Amne.
Whoa, even gonna interrupt. There we go. Jezz and Soaz not able to find the kill. Odo's gonna use that slice and dice out while Feathervin takes the tower. It's at least something for H2K, but they're 3,000 gold down.
I think it starts with the T, ends with the T as well, and then we can just move on because H2K are struggling so much in this game.
Are they ill?
Starts with the T, end with the T.
Yeah, what's in the middle?
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Now that's
smart,
teamwork, boys.
You're smart.
All right, so this was the re-engage into Nuclear. And Caps is always looking at the next target because they know they're going to get Nuclear.
Caps is looking at the semi-final, like, already. It's G2 next for Fnatic if they end this game, obviously, if they close out this game. And they almost beat G2 a week ago.
I think that's so important. The former Kings of Europe Fnatic are possibly setting themselves up with a battle with the current Kings of Europe. And all of the expectation was that H2K should win this game. Yes, Fnatic were good enough to win a game, maybe 2. But Fnatic are outclassing H2K everywhere. Look at the item differences as well. That Hextech hosepipe, was it?
The
has been
hosepipe,
picked up by
That's
Caps.
the best name ever, by the way. So, H2K trying to get back in this game here. They need some success. They're getting this tower. They are sending a warning shot.
Yep. That's all that is. Just make sure Caps moves back away. So, again, the objectives now have started to go over to H2K. So if they can slow down Nuclear getting caught, Che getting caught, they can still hold on. But Fnatic have got such a lead.
They do indeed. The tower's still very healthy. Soaz and Jezz don't quite have the damage. Sunfire Cape Shen not going to kill a Dominus Renekton at this stage.
And we're only 14 minutes in, so now the fun really starts if you're Fnatic. Because now you have this wide open map with Aurelion. Soul, Shen ulti, Kha'Zix is like the best jungler when it's wide open as well, and you can find 1v1s. Kennen is on the way as well.
A lot of support coming in.
Aurelion Soul
Stand
too.
United not going to be available because Soaz is dead. Yankos is rappelling up into the air and buying some time.
Well, that sucked.
So far, Fnatic, they pulled the trigger. They got caught out early. as H2K were able to respond.
It looks like Caps was trying to come back over the Baron pit. I don't know whether the Q expired. Of course, you need a lot of mobility and movement speed, like swiftness boots, you name it, to really charge up that big star. But down in the bottom lane, Nuclear isn't with the team, so the numbers are still even here. TP and Stand United are available. Keep your eyes on that.
Feathervin gets stunned out. The hose pipe is used, and Caps with the voice of light picks up what is a solo kill. Broxer jumps onto Che for the second of the fight. The double in the exchange. And the tower's the target. Nuclear was pushing a lane with no tower to knock over.
Well, Fnatic, they just delayed the fun a little bit, giving that one kill over to H2K. Giving them, I guess, a false sense of security. Oh, we can defend, we can stay. Oh, wait, it's a Shen. Maybe you can't. And Fnatic, when they play Shen and Kennen, they will always punish you. Like, they're not gonna lose on these two champions now, after they use those champions to get into the playoffs. And they're using them also to take down H2K.
We see the Rise ban come out in this game for H2K.
Desperation.
Was it really the problem in the previous game? Was it just they didn't want Caps styling on them? Well, you made the mistake. Reckless gets himself the Kennen, and Fnatic have looked great all the time in this game.
Yeah, I agree, and I think I'm just so impressed by Fnatic over the last few weeks, you know? They fully embraced this play style, fully embraced their champion picks, and that's allowing these tower dives to happen and just looks so, so good. I'm going to ignore the mistake before this one that gave up a kill.
You called a mistake again.
Oh, it's next level bait.
It's mind games.
Right.
Like, look guys, we can defend. It's 4v4. It's Shen. And then now you can't. But again, I like what Caps was saying, being like, why are we trying to play this perfect League of Legends so we can maybe beat Faker and SKT? Like, that's not your goal right now if you're Fnatic. He was like, let's just focus on Europe.
Let's just survive to get to playoffs.
Let's get to playoffs. Let's play champions, you know, that can constantly create fights, create picks, that can split push a lot, and that can really punish teams who maybe struggle under pressure. And that's exactly what they've been doing. So goal number one should always be become the kings of Europe again.
Yeah.
Then you can start looking towards international play.
I mean, you go 2 or 3 weeks back, you're right, Fnatic versus G2 on paper as the semi-final, and people don't believe you, but this Fnatic has looked on top form, and we haven't seen this all split up until the last week and a half, really.
Well, let's also say that they do need to get over that final hurdle.
They do.
It is a good position to be in, 4,000 gold, but H2K have got that investment policy. An Infernal Drake, a Mountain Drake. Gonna throw everything at SOAS. Stranglethorns will buy some time, and Broxer's forced to jump away. 5v5 potential in the top lane, and H2K can't hold on to their tower.
Yeah, and I'm not sure your investment is worth a whole lot when you need the money now. Might be good for them in 20 minutes, but we might not have a game in 20 minutes if Fnatic keep playing the way they're doing at the moment. Because as we said before here, the wide open map is where Kha'Zix, Kennen, even Camille's support really start shining. Because again, the mobility on the Fnatic lineup is crazy. Every member can just move around this map so fast. And the thing again about Camille's support is the range on her hookshot, the E, just means like if you're slightly out of position as H2K, she will actually get to you. And then the Shen ulti comes in on Justice, and then the fight is on.
And that's exactly one of the reasons how Fnatic have continued to grow the gold lead you just saw on their screen in this series. I mean, every time H2K try and make a play, whether it's a dive in mid, an Ashe arrow, anything in the last few games, generally Fnatic have fired back. And fired back stronger, got themselves a better lead, and that is not what we were expecting, not what H2K were expecting. No. Nobody really, truly, with a lot to back it up, predicted this Fnatic showing up
with
and
the ones,
potentially
you know,
being 3-0.
Oh yeah,
they knew it.
There's a few people here as SOAS got a lot of towers to push. He's under pressure. Yankos and Che should be able to run him down. That haunting guys flash over the wall from SOAS. Caps was caught out by what I can only expect a scatter the weak, but a little bit of pressure attacking that global, or relieving pressure rather, for H2K. They're down 5,000 gold, they're behind in items. Look at the minimap, Abyssal almost finished for Caps, Hurricane already finished for Reckless, and now all of a sudden Caps is popped. He's going to be looking for Jankos, though. The Ash Arrow goes wide. Jesus is the target. Is Reckless.
Oh, he's got in.
He's jumped in with a slicing maelstrom. That Hurricane is sending out those bolts at a mile a minute. Soaz is now running for his life. He's being hammered away on. Double kill for Broxer. 3 members of H2K are down for only Caps.
Massive credit to Soaz on getting the block on so many autos from Nuclear that were directed right towards Reckless. He goes in, Reckless gets the stun, Soaz plays protection for him, and Fnatic just getting themselves towards this Baron pick in. It's Blade of the Rune King, Proxer, Soaz, everybody can go aggressive on this.
And Aurelion Sol can get there pretty fast, but that was the only problem for Fnatic before. It was so early in the game, there was no Baron they could actually go and take. They had to just kind of wait around in the jungle. Nuclear.
Volley steal, come on. Do it for the W.
Oh,
Give us more games.
Low.
Let's see. Reckless is being chunked out. Here comes only one man chain. Baron's going low. Who picks it up? It's Fnatic with the earliest Baron of spring. Caps has arrived with the Comet of Legend. He cut down the Rift and he cut down H2K.
So we're 20 minutes into the game and Fnatic, 8K goal lead. They got so many towers, so many kills, and Baron as well this early on. With your split pushing composition as well.
It's almost insurmountable at this point, so let's take another look at the fight. Caps gets blasted down by Febiven, to be expected from that Syndra, but here comes through the missed crowd control.
And this is why Reckless is the only one allowed to play AD carry cannon.
Because he flashes in, gets the damage down, then Soaz comes in, helps him out a little bit, blocking a lot of autos, and Febiven's not long for this world.
He's allowed to flash in because his team played around it and communicated it. Have H2K won a team fight against Fnatic today? It doesn't feel like it because Fnatic have done so well.
Caps, good job of getting to the fight, cleans up. Fnatic are on the same page. H2K look like they've torn the book to pieces at this part.
It's also worth adding with these like team fights is, yeah, that's a lot of damage. But Fnatic's fights are like so rarely those like super standard 5-on-5 fights. It's always like, again, 1 or 2 guys fighting early and then everyone else joining after, so it's really hard to play against.
So, such a strong performance this series in the last couple of weeks by Fnatic. You see the damage numbers being put up. Dracos took us through the stats earlier. Is this the Reckless that people are asking? How does Sven make #1 on the All-Pro list?
Sure.
Is this the one the fans are saying is absolutely the best AD carry in Europe? He's making a good argument towards that for now.
This is gonna obviously help those people trying to argue for the Reckless on the All-Pro team. I don't think...
Well, voting is closed.
Yeah,
so it's too late, you can't change it, but you can't really take anything away from Sven just because Reckless is also playing really well. Let's just celebrate both AD carries.
I like that. Let's celebrate both AD carries. Fnatic will be celebrating, honestly, more than just Reckless, because without Brox's ganks, how does Reckless get ahead, or Soaz get ahead? Without Caps making some of those outplays all series long. Fnatic have thrown curveball after curveball, but they found their mark every single time. And look at this, H2K can't even defend. They're in a turret with an Ash Arrow, as Reckless just uses that E to dash away.
Yeah, it's just really impressive how Fnatic have found answers to everything H2K picked in this game. Like, any pick in the pick and ban phase in the series, Fnatic had an answer. When they banned out the first comfort picks, Fnatic had new comfort picks to show up with. And H2K just never really expected some of these key ones, like Aurelion Sol, Twitch, Vayne.
Oh, look at this. Tower number 5 falls in the mid lane. Tower number 6, not long for this world. Fnatic are using this Baron bluff exceptionally well. As I added an L into that word for some reason.
They're bluffing with the Baron.
Bluffing with the Baron.
Everything is missing, though, for H2K. Every arrow, the cocoons seem to just not be landing. The mobility of Fnatic is keeping them safe in all of these situations. It means H2K run out of options, and Fnatic punish every time they go aggressive. It's more of Fnatic dodging out all of that and then responding in kind.
That means Fnatic just extend this lead even further. So, Baron is going to allow them to get to the steps of H2K's base. More importantly, it gets them on the steps of Hamburg. If Fnatic close this game out, they guarantee they'll be playing in Hamburg, either in the 3rd place match on Saturday or the finals on Sunday. The former Kings of Europe, 5-time EU LCS champions as an organization, with a team that barely made playoffs. Now looking to unseat one of the playoff favorites.
at the same time as all the praise that's come out for Reckless and Broxa and so as everybody. Again, Jesus, I think, has had such a good performance in this series as well. This is probably the best Jesus we've seen all split long. Yep. Like, he's been on top form. It's hard to knock any member of Fnatic at this point.
We're going to try. Sharo onto Caps. He's going to use the cleanse. Stranglethorns really doesn't do a lot. Taunt connects onto Odo Wamne. That's going to buy enough time for Reckless to get into range. Jesus goes all the way forward, puts down the ultimatum. Featherfin is the target. The Celestial expansion. 1, 2, 3. Caps is forced to run away as Jesus gets the fourth. Is shut down in the end. H2K get aced.
Every single fight in favor of Fnatic, they just coordinated so well. With all the CC they have, things like Cannon, Aurelion Soul, Shen taunts. It just feels like H2K, for 3 games now, just not been able to do anything.
And Fnatic have peaked at the perfect time for the organization. It has been a rough split, but with 22 kills to 6 up in a match point game, in a quarterfinal series, this is what Fnatic needed, maybe heading towards a showdown with G2.
Where were you when Fnatic decimated H2K?
Casting.
Thanks, dude. It was a rhetorical question, but I'm so glad you jumped in there to answer it.
Just want to, you know, add some value. Look at this fight, man. Someone else talk.
Okay, that's the value. So Caps was seeing his previous pentakill in his eyes here, but then you see the change in player. He backs away. The rest of the team can handle this one. You're so far ahead. Jez has already locked him down. You get so much damage through from that Aurelion Sol, and then just quick tidy up at the end.
Oh, the question now is like, is it Reckless, you know, play of the series? Is it Broxa, the man who's been setting up the early games? You can't really ignore this Kazakh's game either from him.
You can't ignore any of their games.
No, all 5 members from Fnatic actually been doing so well.
Well, that means we should vote for the coach.
Yeah,
He's going to throw down the ultimate. The Dominus not going to do anything as Soaz manages to get the Shadow Dash and send Odo to the Shadows. Inhibitor number 2 available, juicy for the taking, and H2K have no response.
Oh, so that's Inhib down. Let's see, Febi's trying his best, but it's just hitting Soaz at the moment.
Second Inhib's going to be an easy take, and now Fnatic will just swing up towards the top side. Baron's in 20 seconds. There's a big wave in the top lane, so Fnatic can just set it back up. We're only 27 minutes in. This would be the second Baron for Fnatic of the game.
With them Baron stats going for them as well. H2K at this point, like, it's so hard to kind of say anything because you want to in some way celebrate. They actually were fighting for first place in Group B for this entire regular season. And there's a reason people thought they were going to do well in playoffs. But then when you see a series where they get destroyed by Fnatic, then it's certainly hard to remember the positives.
Here's Soaz coming in to the fight from the flank, actually cancelled that TP. He's pushing back in the bottom lane again. Fnatic just trying to drag H2K around the map as best as they can and open up more objectives.
It still feels like H2K still trying to find their feet. Remember, Nuclear Che and Featherfin new to the roster this split. Still developing, and there's been some ups and downs all split long for H2K. They find themselves ending on potentially a very bad note. Soaz is going to get caught out here by that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, taking a lot of damage from H2K. Is this where H2K find their opportunity? Fnatic are all split up. The focus is Baron for Broxa. He's going to be able to pick it up, but it may cost Soaz his GA. He's been popped on the side. Voice of Light in the back end will help secure a kill into Jankos. Nuclear's down. Che follows after. The goal difference was simply too much. And H2K looking like they're going to get ace.
Great block from Jezis using the ultimatum to keep Jankos out. Featherfin knows it's all but done. Fnatic surely have done it with the second Baron. They're pushing in for the win.
They are. Baron empowered minions, and Broxa will help knock down the second Nexus turret. Fnatic looking at 3-0 H2K. The former Kings Fnatic are coming for the crown. Fnatic themselves do not believe it.
Oh, I think they believe it. Caps, he was confident going into this game here, and this was one of the most one-sided BU5s I have seen in a long time here in Europe. Fnatic had answers to everything in the pick and ban phase, and Fnatic completely outplayed H2K in-game as well.
All the way through, they were just saying we're going to play this style, different AD carries, not meta, to put it in quotes. Fnatic, they've got their own setup when it comes to bot lane, mid lane, you name it, they've got enough options. And they just moved right past H2K, 3 games to 0.
It makes me really happy to see some smiles for winners and losers on stage. H2K simply outclassed today.
Yes.
An entire split on being the stronger team. Doesn't matter when push comes to shove in a BO5 and Reckless, the rest of Fnatic, every single member looked great today.
100% agree. On pick and ban phase, individual play, it was all there for Fnatic, and it sets us up for that insane semi-final now against G2 Esports, because they played each other a week ago. It was a very close series, and Fnatic are playing so well right now that it's not a guaranteed G2 win.
All 3 teams from Group A advanced to the semi-finals. Misfits showing up yesterday, surprising everybody in their series. I dare say Fnatic, their surprise, their level of performance even more impressive.
A lot of people predicted 3-0. Let's just leave
this
it
way
there.
around.
No,
Just
could
not this way
have left
around.
it there. Could have left it there.
A lot of people wish that they could edit tweets.
Definitely.
Take them away, but
How the hell do you prepare for a Fnatic that plays like this? Not only their play style and their confidence in the early game, but Broxah looked good on Kha'Zix.
Right.
That's not something I've said in a while. Broxah looked amazing on Elise. That's not something we've said in a while. And Lee Sin was banned all 3 games.
well, we were talking about Lee Sin, Kennen, Shen, ban them out. That seems to be it for Fnatic, but they have so many more options available than that. And that was one of the most difficult things, is each option changed the play style ever so slightly, and H2K just did not react well enough.
I think the big thing here to really highlight is the bottom lane. Not specifically the 2v2, but how Fnatic will use multiple members around Reckless and Jessis. They managed to play around the lane with obviously the weakest communication on the side of H2K, Nuclear and Shade, something they talk a lot about. And every time the teams had to coordinate on the bottom side, heavily in favor of Fnatic.
Yep, Fnatic punished Nuclear and Che as well as H2K's bottom half of the map. 3 games in a row helped them win. You're talking about the bottom lane. If I were to theorize who the player of the series was, you know, and it's a tough question. Who would it be?
Who?
I mean, Defisho, I mean, do you have a guess?
You're putting it on me now?
I am, yeah. You announced player of the series. And
Well,
it is, drumroll please,
Reckless!
Hey, there we go.
That was super lame, guys, but it's okay.
It's actually really tough because if we had a little bit more time, I think you can debate Broxah versus Reckless, right? Reckless helped finish it, but it was Broxah's early game impact that was amazing. But Twitch, Vayne, and Kennen, a 3-0 quarterfinal?
Yeah, that's respect. That is definitely, especially the Vayne one, that is respect. That you can actually win that game as well.
Imp's looking at this, like, crushing things in his hands, like,
my
I'm
picks,
supposed to be
my
that
picks."
player.
But it's funny. It's great that you know you have diversity from the bottom lane, both Jessis and Reckless.
Yep.
Brox, as you said, showing up on some of the other champions, not being Lee Sin, and it just like it makes the pick and ban phase so fun now for us, but so annoying for the team playing Fnatic, because you gotta constantly keep in mind there's all these different picks. You know, if you show a melee support, well then Vayne might get locked in against you, like we saw in game 2.
Fnatic advanced to semifinals in one of the most dramatic ways. Let's round out the H2K split a little bit, because as you said, they've had a few ups and downs. Last year, you would have, if they weren't winning on sort of macro or playing the map, you didn't really believe in H2K. This split round, they've been a more well-rounded team. But unfortunately, we're seeing them underperform a little bit more frequently than they wanted to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had them pinned even for finals performance, but the last couple of weeks have just looked rough out of H2K, and at the wrong time of the split, they find themselves out of playoffs only 1 week into it.
Yeah, they do, unfortunately. And that means Fnatic, they have taken that last ticket to Hamburg with a dominant 3-0 win. Dracos is sitting by with their top laner, Soaz.
And I gotta tell you, Soaz comes over here calm and collected, and I'm the one reeling in shock after a commanding 3-0. So just tell me, how does it feel to win so dominantly?
Well, it feels good to be the underdog.
Makes a lot of sense coming in. Now tell me, we heard a lot about Caps punishing mistakes, that being the big strategy for the team. Was that a sentiment shared by all of Fnatic when it came to preparing for this series?
We thought that it will be a lot more tough to play against H2K, especially in terms of drafting. But it didn't feel like they just target too much like our comfort picks or whatever, and I feel like they didn't adapt very well in terms of drafting. Like I was more scared of other top laners than he played, at least myself. So I guess they just went for comfort, and we went for comfort as well. Like we didn't even we played like we played like 2 or 3 games of Twitch, and we played 0 games of Vayne. So we just went with the flow really.
I find that, I mean, almost impossible to believe just picking the Vayne in the series. So tell me, when it came to that pick ban, where Vayne was locked in, what was the communication around a pick that you guys had not practiced?
Well, I think there was like 4 AD ban or something, and that Ezreal Tam, we were thinking, like, I'm pretty sure most people were thinking Lucian because like the go-to pick, but we were thinking that Vayne was insanely strong there against their I can't remember what was their top, maybe Gragas?
Gragas.
Yeah, that Gragas, Tam, Ezreal, like no one could possibly touch the Vayne. So, and Vayne will deal a lot more damage than Lucian would. So it was just, to play the champion, it's not that hard against the lane that they had. So it was fine for him to go for this pick.
Was there ever any hesitation or doubt from you guys as a team when it came to Reckless picking these things that we might not call meta AD carries, these high-risk picks like maybe the Vayne, or were you guys 100% confident in him from the start?
I mean, in the situation that we are in, I don't think it's a risky pick, because no matter what he plays, he will be fine on lane. He's playing as Ezreal Tam. Like it's on lane, it's supposed to be really easy, So he could basically pick anything and be fine, so we just decided for the Vayne.
Coming into this week, I think everyone had their eyes on Shen, Lee Sin, Kennen. Clearly H2K did as well, banning it out in so many games. Was that something that you guys were aware of when it came to planning for the week, developing your strategies? What was your thoughts coming into it?
When we did the draft and stuff yesterday and today, we got their first 3 bans. Like, it was pretty obvious to us, so we're only wondering if they do other bans than we expected, and yeah, the draft went like 100% for us in terms of like preparation, because we knew what they were gonna ban, and they banned what we thought they would. So draft went good. Like usually you prepare for 1-2 games, and then you just like decide depending of your games on stage what you're gonna do. But it's much harder to prep for more than 1 or 2 games usually.
What's the difference here? Because in the regular season, there was a ton of criticism kind of levied at your guys' drafting phase. What's the difference here that made it so successful for you guys?
Well, we are just playing animal style, so I guess animal style just fit us, I guess. I don't know.
All right, what do you mean by animal style for everyone at home? Just define that for me.
We learned a lot from Uro.
All right. Maybe a little flame there, not sure. We'll take it as a compliment since you 3-0'd.
Exactly. It's no flame, just compliments.
All right, so some very aggressive play coming out. Well, looking overall at how things have been unfolding, communication in the team seems to be improving constantly. What was the factor there when it came to preparation? Was communication a focus for you guys, or have things just been getting better naturally over the course of the split?
Well, it's not like we had a lot of issues, like either team related or like a lot of different issues during the split. It's not like we focused too much on communication. With like, we didn't even have any goals in practice or whatever. We just practice and try to get good at the style that we are playing right now, and see how far we can go with it.
All right, you've called it animal style. It's going to have to go up against G2 in the coming week. Kind of give me your thoughts on that series overall. I mean, maybe you're not quite ready for it yet, but what is your thoughts for preparing for that series?
Well, I think that we should have won before Cat beat G2, we should have won against them. We just threw quite a lot. Like, I threw one time, and some of my teammates threw some other time too. So we should have won this game. So I'm expecting a series that will be a lot closer than this one, but I'm pretty sure we can take it.
All right, that is a ton of confidence coming from you. I think when people look at your teams, there's a lot of attention that goes kind of towards the bot lane. Reckless and Jez is performing incredibly well this series, going up against Sven and Mithy, widely considered the best bottom lane in Europe. How do you think that matchup is going to play out? Can they battle the current kings of Europe?
Well, it's for sure gonna be tough. I think in terms of matchups, like H2K is pretty good as well, like in terms of laners and everything. So it just comes down to like team fights, taking the right fights, and yeah, it's gonna depend a lot of team fighting. I think against G2 and picks and bans, obviously.
All right, and from the way that you played on stage today, do you feel like you can out-execute in those team fights, outperform G2 overall pretty confidently?
Well, it obviously depends to picks and bans. So I cannot know. We will find out.
All right. Well, looking forward, you guys have had massive fan support along the way, so I'm just curious if there's anything you'd like to say from those fans. I've heard they've been very vocal here in the audience today.
Yeah, surprisingly, there's been, since I rejoined Fnatic, not only me, but I feel like for the team as well, there's been a lot of support from the fans, even though we don't have like the greatest split before playoffs. So it feels really nice to have a lot of support for once.
All right, good to hear it. So, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. Congrats again on taking the 3-0 over H2K. We'll see you guys up against G2 in the week to come. But for now, we're going to send it over to Shox and crew as we get the post-game lobby underway.
Thank you very much, Drakas, and welcome everybody to the post-game lobby, where we will be looking back on our first round of the playoffs and towards the semifinals next week. And joining me are Crepo, Sheepy, and Exile. And what a day we just had!
I mean, this is the last time I ever listened to Sheepy. I usually ask the Fisher for advice.
Ever did.
I forgot, and then I asked Sheepy what's it gonna be. H2K is gonna win 3-0. I go on the desk, I repeat that mindlessly, and I look like a clown.
Upsets are great, though, right? And we had a fantastic series, and we're going to start by taking a closer look at that, honestly, incredible performance we just saw on stage from Fnatic. They 3-0 swept today's favorites, H2K. You know, what was it? We heard from Soaz in a post-game interview. No adaptability out of H2K. Is that the TLDR, Sheepy?
Yes, I think so. They were not able to deal with whatever Fnatic put up in those series very clearly. I mean, from the weird draft, but also the way that they played it, I think everything didn't look quite together. So, yeah, a little bit disappointed from H2K, but also Fnatic playing the now croned animal style.
Tell us about the animal style.
Yeah, what is this?
Define it for me.
The animal style is when they pick champions, you're not really sure about what they are doing, and then in combinations, you're also not very sure, and then suddenly they just get really good matchups and make really sick combos and taking fights that you thought you would win.
I thought it was a style of fries, actually, but this is much more interesting. Exile, Caps today. We had Caps versus Febiven. You talked about the fact that Caps is mechanically really gifted, but Febiven should have the upper hand. What happened today?
I think that Caps is just much more comfortable on the champions that he's playing right now. Like we saw, LeBlanc is insane. Also, the Aurelion Sol into Syndra, which doesn't seem like, on paper, like a really good matchup. But he managed to, like, get out ahead and provide more for his team than I thought he would, and this is really impressive.
And I just want to touch on the animal side. I think it actually makes sense that you just... A lot of the times people condone to the meta, like they call them like meta slaves, where you just want to pick the best option and the best matchup on paper, but it may not be the best champion that you want to play, and it may not be as comfortable for you to then make flashy plays or forward plays. And I think that's what we saw in Fnatic. Like, so many of these games, they were playing solo queues. Like, Finley, pick me this champ, get me Aurelion Sol, get me Twitch, get me Camille support, and they went ham with it.
Yeah, they went ham. But Sheepy, like, okay, obviously there is an argument to be made for comfort picks, especially if you're an absolute underdog, but yeah, of course we get the player of the series, Reckless, because he made it work, because we talk about adaptability, but when you get thrown a Twitch, a Vayne, and then obviously the Ken and the Aurelion Sol at you, not a lot of people would have answers for that, I feel like. Or
I feel that also this is a little bit result-based analysis.
No, we never do that.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
I feel
that's the whole reason the meta exists, right?
For example, Syndra Aurelion matchup, like I would really like to go over the matchups just to see how it works, because I think if they bring this up against like SKT or whoever and play like weak lanes, so to say, that they should actually
Well, I'm going to grant your wish, but a little bit later on. First, we're going to round up this portion and also take a look back at our first quarterfinal that we saw yesterday. Misfits, they advanced to the semifinals with a win over Splice, and Splice looked to be in the position Fnatic was in 2 games in, but then Misfits, they turned it all around.
Yeah, I think a lot of it snowballed over power in the mid lane. Maybe you can say more about AXL.
Yeah, I think that definitely, like, the LeBlanc pick enabled a lot for Misfits. And yeah, Splice went for Cannon 3 times and it didn't look as good as today.
They were setting it up for today.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, like after maybe the second Cannon game, they maybe should have, like, they saw that it didn't work out too well. And like usually players lose confidence, but I guess they wanted to keep the pick up and still thought that it's good. So yeah, but Misfits played this out really well.
I mean, Kobe tweeted about it. It was one of their strongest performing scrim picks, and it can also just be, it can be coincidence 3 games in a row where like a random roam from mid screws your early game plan, and maybe a misplay in lane messes up the pick, but in essence it could work. I really think we saw this, the strength of Kennen plus Shendo today in game 3, where you need that zone from the Shen W to keep the Kennen alive as he goes for his own ultimate, because he's not the AP Kennen. He needs time to ramp up in fights. He just needs a little bit more peel, and Fnatic is much better at providing that for Reckless than Spice was for Kobe.
Yeah, and Maxwell also said it yesterday on the desk. There is really, when it comes to pocket picks, that is a true pocket pick. He just knows the boundaries of that champion so well, but then you gotta say, well, apparently also of Twitch and of Vayne and of Lucian.
I mean, Twitch is a super cool champion because it changes the mindset of an entire opposing team, where you can no longer check minimap as like, where is this AD carry? And he can be in places where you do not expect him. It's the same when you play versus Evelyn. Evelyn always picks up in win rate when she gets reintroduced in the metagame and then falls off again when people learn how to play against it. It's the same with Twitch. Play 10 or 20 games against the Twitch and you will be much better at dealing with it.
Yeah, especially like when you scrim like 60 games a week against those static AD carries, which don't do this flashy plays like Kennen or Twitch. And suddenly someone picks this up in a game on stage. Then it looks like you don't know exactly the limits of the champion, like the player does. And this is what also makes those picks extra strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point, obviously. And H2K will not have practiced against a lot of the things that came out today and the curveballs. And with that, we have our lock-in for the semifinal schedule. Fnatic, they have secured the last semifinal spots, which means that we'll have G2 up against Fnatic and the Unicorns of Love up against Misfits. I feel like after watching today's matches, you guys will gladly take that matchup versus Misfits over Fnatic, maybe because the amount of curveballs. Am I correct, Shippy?
I think that I'm really not too sure. I have to like rewatch a little bit more closer the matchups, because I really think those picks are not picked for a reason. Like, you cannot just go into those matchups and expect yourself to win or come out ahead. Like, you will provide something in the later stages, and that's what you pick it for. I think also the pick and bans were a little bit all over the place today, or with like Esri being picked in early and then picking Thresh versus Esri alone. And I think it's a little bit questionable what happened in the pick and ban phase itself. But I think that if, for example, G2 right now, how they are looking, I mean, after the Rocket games, or if they practice properly, will be able to punish Fnatic, and it will get way harder to surprise, you know, like a well-trained team.
Yeah. Harder, but not impossible. I feel like
it's definitely not impossible. Yeah. I think we saw a couple cases where, yes, there's like I think especially game 1, it's very results oriented, because the early laning phase did not play out the way it technically on paper should have, based on our opinions. But then again, game 2, the Vayne made a lot of sense, so that's where an opening. But I think if you play against Sven on bot lane, this guy is really good at, especially even when you listen to his stream, breaking down bot lane matchups to the core and the fundamentals behind it. Therefore, he can extrapolate much better, like, how do you play against a Twitch? And they also have better communication from bot lane to the team when one of these picks needs more ganks or less ganks, or needs to be called for a roam. I think the G2 bot lane is catered better at around dealing and containing Reckless and Jezz.
Oh yeah, the bot lane, because even Mythy, with not being on top of his game, arguably this split, he also has that knowledge, which is pretty insane for that bottom lane. So we'll see what happens there, and we are going to dive deeper on next week's fight for the finals and get a word in with Fnatic's coach Finlay. So if you're joining us in client, be sure to load up youtube.com/LOL Esports for the full-length edition of the post-game lobby. And with that, as we speak, Dracos is standing by with Fnatic's coach, so let's send it over for a word.
Thank you, Shox. Excited to be sitting here with Finlay once again after a victorious 3-0 series over H2K. Now, I'm curious what your role looked like in this week preparing for this series versus H2K.
Well, I guess I can touch a little bit on what Soaz said. Everyone just thinks that we play like we only get wins because of the comfort champs with Shen, Lee, and Kennen. So we knew for sure these 3 champions are going to be banned, right? So basically what I just do is make sure that we have good preparation going into the week. So when we go into the week, I'm telling players we should plan for this, we should plan for this, we should make sure we have a counter for this, and we can make sure that we can blind this, and in which scenarios that this is good. And then we basically just play our scrims out like this is what's gonna happen. Even if Shen, Kennen, and Lee Sin in scrims were not banned, we just wouldn't pick these champions because we just knew they were going to be banned. And because of this, well, it shows we were really prepared for today's games.
I mean, it definitely looked like it, and I'm curious for you, standing up on stage, talking to those guys through picks and bans, was there ever a moment of doubt or hesitation when you're telling them to lock in some of these picks that we may not view as conventional?
I think the drafts in all 3 games, we went into the games really confident because we got exactly what we wanted as like in terms of how the draft phase went. It was exactly what we prepared for the whole week, except for maybe with the old Vayne lock-in. Martin had to convince me really hard to play Vayne, and I let him go with it after his logic was good. So we just went with Vayne. We hadn't played a single game of Vayne at all, I think, this whole year in Scrim, and maybe 1 game in like 2 months ago. So, and he just turned up as he always does. So, yeah, I mean, it was pretty good day, I think, in terms of draft-wise.
Definitely looked good for the team, even if there were a lot of question marks. It seemed to prove anyone who would doubt the draft phase wrong. But looking at expectations for H2K, was this a style that you expected to work well against H2K, or was this just the best style that you guys could play?
Well, as I said, we learned a lot from Unicorns, right? We play a lot similar to them, only I guess with more cheesier picks or more different picks. And they 2-0'd H2K, right, in their most recent series. So we were actually very quietly confident going into the series that H2K were going to be overconfident and just think, oh, if we ban Kennen, Shen, and Lee Sin, then we're going to win. But I think we were actually very confident that they didn't know how we were going to counter this. And we were actually, Caps for sure said it was going to be a 3-0. He's been saying this for the whole week, so I guess it was true.
All right, well, good to hear that Caps is confident as well. Definitely earned it. Now, your next opponent, G2, I talked to Soaz a little bit about this already, but are you at all worried that now that you've shown so many of these picks on stage that you may not have as many tricks up your sleeve, as many options when it comes into picking up against G2?
Well, they can't ban everything, right? You saw in Game 3, they were like, oh, we have to ban the LeBlanc and then Ryze. And they were like, okay, we're just going to play Shen and Kennen, and we're going to get a free win with Shen and Kennen. So I think what Prolly said was very incorrect when he said we're easier to prepare against than Roccat, because as we showed here, we're not an easy team to prepare against. We're going to first time stuff on stage, like Soaz, he's known for first timing champions on stage. Martin just first time Twitch and Vayne on stage. So I don't think you can predict what we're going to do, and I think this gives us a huge advantage against G2.
Definitely looking forward. Now, in the weeks to come, do you think it's going to be a similar preparation strategy? Is it going to be cookie cutter? Do you feel confident that you can just do exactly what you did this week against G2, or is it going to have to be a different strategy overall?
I think G2 are quite a similar team to H2K. There are 3 teams in Europe that play very similar in terms of Misfits, G2 and H2K. They're very slow, and they play the same sort of style like Ashe comps and with Syndra and Tank Top. So I think we can definitely have a good shot against G2 just because they're maybe a better version of H2K, and today we 3-0 the H2K, so I think definitely anything is possible.
One of the first people I've sat down with, you and Soaz both, who are so confident in a series versus G2, and frankly, it's good to hear. They have been the kings for a long time.
Well, we nearly beat them, and also we should have won our series against them. Like that game is really sad. I should be an undefeated coach right now, but unfortunately, I'm not.
Not quite, but we'll see if we can improve the win rate, see what happens in the week to come. Thank you so much, Finley, for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. We'll send it back over to Shox and the guys at the desk to further talk about what we saw today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dracos and Finlay. That was great.
I really liked the interviews, by the way. From both, they were very genuine. I think they spoke from the heart and a little bit easygoing.
Wouldn't you talk from the heart? A whole split. You're going up against the odds. You have this project that's not working out. You're not meshing.
Casters are flaming you all the time.
The casters are flaming you.
That never happens.
Fans are flaming, and then this happens.
I just cannot,
You cannot imagine what it's like for a team to be underestimated.
No, but really, really enjoyable interviews by both people, and I really feel that Fnatic has a lot more confidence than I expected them to. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be excited for G2 versus Fnatic coming up.
Super excited. I mean, I think they have every right to be confident just now. They just have to temper it in their preparation for the next game, right?
I think it's cool when you look at the pick and ban, and we were always saying, you know what, Fnatic, they're going a little bit off meta here, and therefore they don't have a good pick and ban. And maybe Nico was trying to contain the animal style that now Soa's called, but maybe Finley just had to let it loose, you know, go full zoo, go full animal style, and you get to play this champion for the first time on stage and be proud of it. Maybe Fnatic should just stop screaming altogether and just first time everything.
But the important thing that he said, and what you really need to underline in scrims especially, is ideas that the people have. So like Martin obviously went into the Vayne picks saying like it's good versus Gragas, good versus Tahm-Kench, good versus Ezreal. Like I can really get through laning phase here, deal tons of damage, and there's no way that they can kill me. And there's really no like back answer from that, like this is a bad idea because this and this is not working. So I really think that they were just smart going into the pick and ban phase, and I'm really happy, you know, that they let their players do what they think is best.
I mean, you're sending a message to G2, obviously, and I love that Finley, he just not looked straight in the camera and said, well, you know, they thought we were easier to prepare against, but we're not. We have this, and we did this, and we did this. He was overdoing it maybe a little bit, but fine. You can after a moment like that.
I think you need the ability to bring great practice to the stage, but then also if you want to have the gusto to go for like a first-time pick on stage and your team can pull it off, definitely go for it. Like, the Vayne made so much sense, but I'm such a big fanboy of this Vayne pick. Like, I think it was super smart.
I don't know why Reckless is not meeting the fans right now, but I just...
He wasn't last week. Like, so
no, he wasn't. He's in the zone, right?
From what we can understand, he's basically on shut-off mode where there's no interviews, no fan meets, focused on the game all the time. And just wants to take that approach to keep his mindset as like focused as he can. It's an approach we need to respect until hopefully they win the finals, and then we might.
Oh, he gets to talk. I mean, it's worked out here. He carried a lot of the games in games 1 and 2. Well, and we always say that, but together with Brox and together with Caps, and the whole team was on the same page, which gave us a fantastic game 3 from the side of Fnatic. That is, and let's dial a bit deeper into that one. Sheepy, earlier you asked about you know, the mid lane matchups, and we have Exile here as well. So talk me through this Aurelion Sol Syndra matchup, what should happen and what ended up happening?
So usually in this matchup, it's early in favor for Aurelion. Like you can land a few Ws and get a bit pressure early in the lane. But like so once Syndra hits 6, Aurelion simply becomes too squishy. And he's also not running Exhaust, because he kind of needs cleanse against Syndra Elise, as he gets permaganked. And yeah, with this cleanse, then he just pretty much dies to every Syndra combo. And this is like basically how Syndra should have pressure in the lane.
What happened then?
Yeah.
Basically, they misplayed the dive, I believe, and based on this, he got a bit more items, a bit more HP, and could play the lane passive. I think he lost pressure at some point and even died one-on-one, but he still managed to provide a lot for his team.
Yeah, I think so too. I would have really liked to have, you know, the insight from Caps, what he was thinking when he picked up the matchup. Like, this is really interesting. He probably had like a good idea, like this champion pushes out first and then roams, or later on in team fights he's too tanky, or the ultimate outrange of Syndra. Like, there's some ideas that you can like emphasize, or maybe the Q gets so large and it can outrange the Syndra or something. I would have really liked, you know, that's like super interesting as a coach. You're looking into that, and maybe also as a viewer. So I'm happy, you know, it ended up well. However, what we saw when he got one-on-one killed is something we should have seen more, and especially if the dive is successful, then the Aurelion soldiers, it's a totally different story.
Yeah, and you also look at this game and you know they're 2-0 up, so whatever is a little advantage in a game like that just mentally turns into a huge momentum. They had the Shen also, they had Jess having a great series on Camille, the Kennen was out there finally, so yeah, everything was under a magnifying glass.
Yeah, and also just you have that surprise effect. Like, the most mid laners play against Aurelion Sol, I think, is just against a few one-tricks in solo queue. I don't think this is quite a meta champion.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think that Fableton, like, in the past few weeks of scrims, he probably didn't even play against a single Aurelion Sol. And then you don't know the limits of the champion, as we spoke about it earlier. And the champion just has such a... Like, early you can freeze a bit with the pick, like, his W is quite strong early, and some mid laners disrespect this and then get a bit out-traded. I think he even had a good trade this game, in early game.
Level 1, he put like 4 W stacks.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just, yeah, a good pick. And I mean, also, the mobility of the champion is like quite unique. Like, okay, with Talon coming in now, this is quite similar. But still, it's like hard to call when the champion roams.
It's the same with Twitch, right? Like, in essence, you can always say, guys, Twitch is missing. But at one point, Twitch can show a bot, can show a side lane. You don't know when to pressure out. The same way when you play with an Aurelion Sol, like, this guy can arrive in bot lane much faster than other mid laners. So you're used to a pattern where mid laner says, okay, this guy just disappeared from mid. In your mind, you have 10 seconds to still push out your lane and then walk back. Aurelion Sol could already be there, for example. So it's all these little things that you need to get used to. Same with if you play versus an Evelyn, you're so used to warding next to your lane. Well, it's useless when you're playing against a champion that can go invisible, so you need to start warding the camps. But to do that safely, you need to change the way you approach your wave control. It's all these little things that are contingent on what champion you play against, and that's why you scream exactly if you play them versus new champions. You need to be either a really smart player or you will find yourself surprised.
Yeah, and I think that's really the thing that people need to train the most is analytical ability and also correct mindset, being humble and respectful, because anything can beat you and you should be absolutely determined that you want to win this game so badly. So you need to invest every second you have to actually try to prepare. So if you're going forward into the game and you're seeing like a Twitch, you instantly need to think, okay, what's weaknesses, what is strength, how's the game going to be shaping? You really need to think that early. Otherwise, you're going to be hit by a surprise, and one surprise can turn the game around. So, and it's also one thing that can win you the game as well. If you find one weakness, one crack.
Is something like that made more difficult by the fact that obviously you have a Korean bot lane? So you, even though your communication is fine for any standard situation and you've gone through a lot already, this is a very unique situation, right? You get this unique pick that you have to all of a sudden as a team talk through and come up with a plan in a short period of time.
It can just be like, yes, there's a language barrier there, but it can even be harder with certain players that have a harder time expressing certain concepts. You know, not everybody is as well spoken, even within European players, for example. But yeah, you need people that can think quick, and then you need coaching staff that always ask you the why the mistake happened, as opposed to like, I remember back in the day, people would open up a replay and it's like, yeah, but if you aimed your Q a little bit more to the left, you would have hit him, right? But that is not what you guys focus on in replays, I imagine.
We're asking less why, because why is very judgmental. It like means an opinion from you. Like why would you do this? Is, you know.
But what went wrong here? I mean,
it's more like how. Like how does it interact? What did you think about it? Like what are your thoughts process? Because mostly when I ask a player, I just, you know, like kind of as a viewer, you're trained to be judgmental like very quickly because you want to have an opinion.
As a human.
As a human as well. Like into any, as a caster especially. And then you're just saying this is bad. But mostly, if I you know be humble and then listen to the people, then I always hear like I played around this minion dying, reaching level 5, dangerous game, something like this, and I'm like, holy crap, you know, that's such a smart play. I couldn't have thought of this. So this is really where you should just ask after every scrim and nurture this kind of analytical ability. What do they think about? And try to refine that so that people always go into the mindset, always in pick and bans, know what is super, super successful for them and can apply that in game and win. I mean, how H2K must be feeling right now is like really, really bad for them. And I think that will shape them also in the future to be more focused on the success.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting to listen how you guys approach these problems, or should I say opportunities that haven't presented themselves yet. I think it's very good to get that insight. And would you say that's also, if you look at a player that you possibly want to join your team in the past or whatnot, or is that part of kind of the qualities that you want from a player, not only the mechanical ability or whatnot, but how, as an attitude, he can shape within the team?
Yes, I think it's both. Like, he shapes the team and the team shapes him. The stronger your personality is, the more it likes going to paint onto him. So for us, after our experience and having people that really know what they want in life, I think it just goes really easy to implement somebody and say, we want to really win, and this is like the reason we are here. And everything that provides towards this and like we will have happen. And we will make sure that this is something you want, because this is this is kind of the reason we are together as a team, and that really fits together.
Good intrinsical values, and you guys are #1 in Group B, and I just want to go back to Week 8 where you guys beat H2K 2-0. H2K then came out and say, well, this was obviously an off day for us, it didn't work, and we then said, possibly this is a very expensive off day because you could be giving up your bye and your first place to the Unicorns of Love, and lo and behold, they find themselves in the quarterfinals as absolutely favorites versus Fnatic and now lose 0-3. So let's talk a bit about that, because it's all sunshine and rainbows for Fnatic right now. But how hard will this influence the players of H2K? What in the end went wrong here outside of picks and bans? I mean, can you even make any assertions?
I mean, if you look at H2K over the years, they've always had issues with late game team fighting and also with kind of tunneling on calls.
There was no late games though.
Yeah, well, there was no late games, but like there have been persistent issues that H2K as a team over multiple rosters have always like came back to. So maybe some of the core members are failing there, or there is no system in place to fix that, and that is definitely an issue.
I think also, like, if you look at each game, basically, like, every lane from Fnatic almost always won, actually, like, in every game. And, like, even if they had, like, losing matchups, right, they just played around it, like, in the first game bottom lane, or even in the LeBlanc game, they just played around mid lane. And, yeah, this was just, they know their strengths, they know their weaknesses. They just play around it. Maybe they just see the opportunity in-game as well. And they, like, capitalize on this. And this is, like, really nice to see. And also the fact that H2K didn't really like adapt in the game. I mean, we also saw, for instance, the move in the first game where they got like the mid lane turret based on like super good macro where they hide in the pink ward. Like this is stuff that not many people do, actually, because it's like a bit fishy to do. But yeah, like if you can pull this off and if you can think about it while you like in the game, then this is like an insane advantage that you can get.
Yeah. I think just to answer the question for H2K right now, I mean, I don't know too well the players and the coach, like, since we're not talking so much. I know, for example, the owner, Susan, and, you know, they're all really, really great people. And I guess this is, like, really hard on them, the loss, because now they have, like, kind of forced vacation as well, and they're going to see all the top teams, and this is also something that's going to be embedded in your brain. And I would really like to hear like the side from H2K. So maybe if there's like any kind of interviews, just to see, you know, what their thoughts are, because, you know, benefit of the doubt, it's really easy to be like judgmental here. But maybe they had really good ideas and we're just not able to translate them on stage. But from our point of view, I really agree from Exile. There was a lot going wrong. Lanes were not winning, and in the end, the team cohesion wasn't there.
Yeah, that's maybe the biggest thing, right? That those lanes aren't winning, because usually, not that the bot lane was a super favorite, but they lose lanes that were very hard.
Yeah, it brings up an interesting debate where if you're a team that practices a lot, you can practice routines. Like say like there is a correct way to lane swap, you can practice that 20 times and you will know how it goes. But if you never get to practice the why and the concepts behind it, the second the lane swap meta changes, you have to practice 20 times again. But if you can teach a team the why and the concept behind it, maybe you can only need 3 scrims for that, you know? And I think that's the same thing. I think bot lane is the same as a concept, but like you never know what exactly went wrong. Maybe somebody choked on stage, you got a little nervous. Maybe there was a communication breakdown. It only takes one bad call to ruin everything. If suddenly you're on stage, you're not in your comfort zone, you talk a little bit less, which means the information doesn't flow to your jungler doesn't flow back to you, and it all breaks down. There's a whole myriad of reasons of what could have happened.
Yep, and it all came together for Fnatic. So our big question here is their next opponent, G2. So as in Finlay alluded to it, well, we should have beat them last time. Yeah, but you didn't. And now you're going up against in a semi-final. Did we see enough of the playoff buff? Did this 3 games give us enough confidence to say that there's a real chance here for Fnatic to beat G2?
I think that I would definitely like to see more from Fnatic. Like those games today were like super exciting.
Yeah.
Also the picks they had were like, yeah, really crazy picks. I think they, like if they play like today, then yeah, they have a shot against G2. Like also the G2 that we saw like against Rocket didn't look that like impressive, like the G2 from before. But it's just like really solid and always consistent. But yeah, I think that Fnatic has a good chance.
Maybe let's quickly run down the lanes. Very quickly. I mean, this could take a while, but we got time. Very quickly. Xpex versus SOAS. You can go first.
Oh, well, what an interesting lane. The problem is we don't know. Like, we had all this analysis based on, like, trends, and we looked at it versus Fnatic and H2K.
Trends-based analysis.
And we were like, okay, H2K top favorite. Now Fnatic come out swinging, and you're like, G2's supposed to be smarter, but, like, I don't know. I was dead wrong. It swung,
we know nothing.
The total opposite. We wouldn't know until we see what they play. What we do know is Fnatic can't get outbanned with only 3 bans. And even if you hit a certain player in the second ban phase, he will whip out a Vayne. And I think that was super interesting and it makes me just really excited for that matchup.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So Xpex versus SOAS, I have no answer.
Okay, that's fine. And I guess the question is then also, even if you whip out these weird or new picks again or whatever, you're probably not going to win every single lane versus G2, that chance. I mean, actually, we know nothing anymore.
Maybe.
Let's just leave it at that.
However, I have to say, this match, if G2 is going to lose, that would be an insane upset. Like, obviously, it's cool now. He played the Twitch, they played the Vayne, they played, you know, Kennen, Shen, Aurelion, Soul, and everyone's like, okay, that's really cool style. But really, G2 is kind of the wall that they have to overcome. And
because they're the team that practices the why, right? They're so smart usually.
I think that they are smart because a lot of stuff when we are scrimming against them and how they use wave control and how they are aware of things that are happening and actually, you know, reacting to them properly, it's really, really cool. Like the game becomes so exciting, and especially for us who's like investing all the time. this is fun. So yeah, I mean, against Rocket they didn't seem too strong, but I would still consider G2 really strong and would be a big upset.
It's also like when you know the why is something like, why do you do something in the game, then basically you can also adapt way better, because then you know exactly what you want in the game. And okay, they pick a different champion, but you still know how to get it, like, because every champion has in some way weaknesses. And I think that G2 is way better at this than H2K. Also think that, especially like in the series, I felt like Caps was dominating Fabian a bit, like in the mid lane, in almost every game except the third one, which was a tough matchup. And I think that Perks is, regarding to this, he can like contain Caps way better.
All right, well, super interesting. I just think that in general, without bias towards one team or the other, the playoffs have gotten a lot spicier all of a sudden. A very interesting bunch of upsets. Well, on the other side of the EULCS standings, the summer promotion tournament is in full swing, and Stress is here to give us the lowdown.
Absolutely. You alluded to perhaps the analyst desk not having a couple of things that they're aware of, but one thing we know for certain, and that is the teams in the second round of the promotion tournament, because this week, challenger teams proved their dominance over the bottom two EULCS squads. First of all, Fnatic Academy was selected as the opponents for the Giants, and oh boy, did that turn out to be a tough matchup for them. Giants would win the first game of the series in what looked to have been Fnatic Academy with a certain win for themselves. It went all the way to a fourth game. Fnatic looked more dominant all the way through the games, and finally the last game just kind of swept Giants aside. It kind of showed Giants that perhaps it wasn't the right choice of opponents, or so we thought after day one, because Fnatic Academy looked great, but so did Misfits Academy. The opponents for Origin. Origin were looking for their first series win of the year, and they did not find it against the Misfits sister team. Misfits threw everything at Origin, and Pridestalker once again proved that he is a jungler that is a force to be reckoned with in the promotion tournament. Even a pentakill coming through in this series, like everything went Misfits Academy's way, and Origin, unfortunately, again winless in this series. 3-0 Misfits Academy advance, and that means that the battle for a chance to play in the big leagues continues Thursday, when we'll be bringing you two best-of-5s with a lot on the line. First up, Misfits Academy versus Fnatic Academy. The winner graduates into the EULCS. That series begins at 2 p.m. Central European Summertime, and then directly following it, Origin versus Giants in a loser leaves town match. The loser of this will no longer be in the LCS and will play out the summer split in Challenger Series. Our broadcast of that matchup begins at 7 p.m. European summertime. Back to the analyst desk. There's surely a lot to talk about with so much on the line so deep into the season.
Well, definitely so. And I mean, first off, the fact that we will for sure have a new team in the LCS next split.
Excited.
Yeah?
I love the fact that both Academy teams won, because it shows that the bottom tier teams in LCS were just not pulling their weight. The fact that not all rookies, but like mostly other rookies consisting teams can just smash their way in the way they did. It also means a new organization in the LCS, because obviously Fnatic can't have two teams, Misfits can't have two teams, so these guys will have to be bought out. Maybe it brings an exciting new name in there. Like, it means a lot of good things for EULCS.
Yeah, were you guys surprised at all by the way the first round of the promotion tournament went, and with Giants and Origin not being able to?
I was quite surprised by the Giants game against Misfits, because I actually expected Giants to win because they have like more stage experience, just all this time in the LCS they spent. And actually, Giants is not such a bad team. Like, I didn't, like, at the start of the split, I didn't think at all that they would get into the promotion tournament. But yeah, I was quite surprised. Misfits Academy is actually playing really well, so they definitely deserve it if they make it.
Yeah, and Giants also selected Fnatic Academy. They kind of sealed their own fate there, which was unlucky. We'll see what happens. Very excited to see how those matches play out, and also excited for the rest of our playoffs. Remember to tune in for our first semifinal series next Saturday. G2 is the new challenge for a Fnatic team on a roll, and that series begins at 5 p.m. Central European Summertime, followed by the Unicorns of Love, Animal Style versus the Misfits the next day. And, well, it's about time. We had you guys on the desk here, but we haven't seen Unicorns in a while. Are you guys anxious to get to your playoff run?
This would be really nice to make it to the finals in Hamburg, especially because, you know, Power of Evil is the only German mid laner left, and beside me in the LCS, and basically the only German. And if we win, then yeah, there's only one German in Hamburg.
Then they have to root for you. They have to root for you. They have
they have no choice.
Yeah, so I would like to be the only German in the finals. So I'm really motivated to do well.
Yeah, and I mean, You guys, you are from Hamburg.
I'm also German, but
you're also German.
Player.
No, but it's all for you. It just has a lot of emotional momentum
I'm absolutely amazed that I can go to Hamburg. I mean, I'm coming from there. All my friends are coming there. We have like 17 people we know. We have like a VIP launch, and it's amazing. I'm really looking forward.
You know what? I really like that. We'll definitely get you tickets for the show. You can sit in the crowd then.
They could play the third place match also.
Huh?
They could play the third place match. They're going either way.
Yeah,
actually, we have to go either way.
Yeah.
So.
Burn
there goes my burn. All right.
Burn failed.
Let's wrap it up.
All right. And on the other side of the Atlantic, the second quarterfinal series in the NALCS between FlyQuest and CLG is just a few minutes away, actually, 25, 24. You want a little prediction in there, or will the FlyQuest hype train?
The FlyQuest hype train has been running on a fuel a little bit. No, I'm.
Obviously.
I guess I can be biased because it's NALCS and not European LCS. So I would love to see Aframu shock all at home one more time.
Right. Have you guys been watching a lot of it or been able to watch a lot of it?
I haven't watched too much NALCS, like more focused on SCK and EU. But I think that overall, from what I've seen, I think that CLG is going to take it.
I think so too. I think FlyQuest really showed a lot in the early stages, with surprise picks, and played like different styles. But I think now it's kind of slowed down, and CLG really seems to be the stronger team.
But Sheepy, who takes the EU playoffs?
There's only one team I can root for, so yes, I think we have a really good shot. But it's so exciting, and after today, anything can happen.
I mean, if you talk about the stars or the unicorns lining up, getting to go to Hamburg in front of that unicorn home crowd, because that's in the end where the organization also is born. This is a this is a unique chance, I would say, and you guys have a great lineup, but dreaming is dangerous.
Yes, we will focus on practicing hard every day, every moment, and then be ready for hopefully the finals, or for now the semifinals.
All right, well, dreaming is dangerous, but I get to be on the desk with awesome people, which is a dream come true every day. Time for us to log off for tonight. Thank you, guys. Can repay, also say, yeah, it's also nice to know. All right, okay.
I mean, yes, you can dream about me, if that's what you're saying.
All right, remember, you guys, that we are raising the stakes next week with the semifinals starting on Saturday. We will see you then. Have a great night and great dreams.
It is Fnatic versus H2K for a spot in the semi-finals, for a shot at Hamburg. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Fnatic versus H2K.
Now Fnatic want more.
Yeah, Fnatic say, screw the Baron, we want the base. Jesus dashes in with that hook shot, turns the attention onto Odo. He gets sent packing, and Reckless sends him to the pit. That's a flash forward for Broxa. That's H2K, they're ace, and the base is being destroyed too. Jesus is putting damage onto Featherfin. They're keeping the H2K members busy as the Nexus is the focus. Fnatic with a few more auto attacks. They're striking first against H2K in the quarterfinals. So, Vayne is locked in. Twitch, for the first time this split. Vayne now locked in for Reckless as well. Is this Vayne spotting, or is this Fnatic spotting? Can they do it again? Overload into Rune Prison, connects with another Overload, so as his body blocked. Oh! The blast code!
Oh my God!
First blood to Caps. Soaz is already out of the fight. Rune Prison onto Featherfin. That's a double kill for Reckless. He continues to chase. Huge heal from the Summoner spell, and Caps gets the third. Here comes Reckless. He flashes in aggressively. Featherfin's the target, but Soaz gets the kill. A condemn onto Odo Amne. Drops him as well. Fnatic in a 5-on-3. They're setting their sights on the base. Get rickety Reckless as Fnatic 5 more kills. It's 12-6. The Nexus is down. One more win secures a spot in the semifinals. Is this the last game of the quarterfinals? Will Fnatic stun the world and go 3-0? H2K hard to kill up until today. Fnatic don't care. 2-0 up as we load up for game 3.
You can jump, Swallow. If you want to go, I can jump.
Let's go. I got him. How much of it?
And Caps with the voice of light picks up what is a solo kill. Broxa jumps onto Che for the second of the fight. The double in the exchange. Baron empowered minions, and Broxa will help knock down the second Nexus turret. Fnatic looking at 3-0. H2K, the former Kings Fnatic, are coming for the crown.
Nice. Nice, guys. Nice. Holy shit. We did it, guys. I love you guys. And look at my friends and family, they're all here. Oh. Feels nice. Look.